everybody. This is Dimensions of the Supernatural. I am Maureen Grudzinski, otherwise known as Witchy, and I'm here with my great co-host, Anthony Simonelli, otherwise known as...
Hey, Mr. Fuhgeddaboudit, how you doing tonight? Hey.
You can't get any more New York. So... we have a really awesome guest. This is kind of a little bit different from what we're used to, and it's super exciting to me. I don't know about you guys, what you're going to think about this, but I couldn't wait to have him on our show. His name is Eric Galligan, and he's otherwise known as Sanguine Macabre. Hi, guys. Hi, everybody out there. Before we get him into the show with us, however, I'd like to make an announcement. A really good friend of ours, Dan Klass, he is well known throughout the industry. His daughter, Shaylee, was recently diagnosed with osteosarcoma, and there is a GoFundMe going around for her. So if anyone would like to donate, I'm going to put the GoFundMe in the comment section. If anyone would like to... What just happened? I'm going to put the... Oh, that's my phone, sorry. So I'm going to put that in the comment section. So if you guys would like to help out with that, we would really appreciate it. We love him so much. He's the kindest, most generous, loving person I've ever met. And he helps everyone out. So I'm going to do that. But in the meantime... we're going to bring Eric Galligan in. Like I said, again, he has a blog, a website called Sanguine Macabre, which I think is fantastic. And we'll get to know him so much better. There's a lot to learn. So without further ado, this is Eric.
Hey, everybody.
So, Eric, there is so much to get into and so many places you've been. You travel all over the world. You see the most amazing places, and why don't we start with how did you start doing this?
It was kind of just by accident, really. I was going through a rough period in my life, and just one of those life-changing chapters where everything just kind of hit rock bottom. And I had created when I initially created Sanguine Macabre, it was more just kind of an outlet to write down my thoughts and share a little bit about my life and whatever. But anyways, I just wanted to get the hell out of Dodge. So I just hopped in the car, and at the time I was living in Las Vegas. So I drove over to Los Angeles, and I always wanted to see the Museum of Death. So I visited that. And then there was a new restaurant that opened up called Beetle House Los Angeles, which is a Tim Burton themed kind of Beetlejuice style restaurant. And I just had such a great time, and I posted about it. And it just awoke in the travel bug in me. I didn't want to come back. I guess I played in bands over the years, and touring was great, but you never got to see any of the places you went to. It was always the green room and the stage, and then back on the tour bus and to the next town. So basically it ended up becoming a tour without a band. And then I just I've always been big into the paranormal and whatnot, and I started just visiting gothic / macabre haunted places, anything with a paranormal history to it. And then I would kind of, I don't normally do investigations. I'll explore the place and kind of give people my take on it, and then provide them with the information so that they can visit it themselves and figure out if it's haunted or not, for themselves.
Yeah.
Which is why you call it ghost haunting.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because I'm not hunting them, I'm haunting them. Like I think they probably think half the time that I'm the ghost. I'm telling you, I really do think that's probably what they feel when I'm there sometimes.
There's a strong belief amongst a lot of paranormal people that we're the ghosts, and they're the actually the people there that we're haunting. So
Exactly.
We've been talking about that for like the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, we talked about a couple shows like that. That's pretty cool.
Because a lot of times they don't even, they don't seem to know they're even dead sometimes. So, yeah, I would think if they see some strange dude walking around their house, they probably think I'm the ghost.
The others. the others. That's a great movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at some of your stuff, and you've been to some really great spots on your website. The one I want to go is the one in California, the hotel over there. I'm getting a scene.
The Cecil?
Oh,
the Cecil, yeah. That's Cecil. I'd like to go there.
Yeah, that place, definitely a very heavy place. I don't know if you saw that documentary on Netflix about the Cecil.
Yes,
but,
with the girl and everything, yes.
It's pretty accurate. I mean, it's definitely a war zone down there. I definitely wouldn't recommend going there at night.
I heard about the area around the Cecil. It's not that great to be.
Yeah, well, considering it's one of the worst neighborhoods in all of Los Angeles, that says a lot right there.
Yeah.
I told Anthony that we should both go there and play the elevator game and see what happens to whom.
Well, that'd be interesting. Yeah, the thing is I when I went there at that time, it was closed down. This was during the shutdowns, the pandemic, but it had already been closed for a bit. Ever since the Alyssa Lamb incident, they ended up shutting down shortly after that.
Right.
And I believe it's reopened now, but it's no longer a hotel. Now it's just for low income housing.
Okay.
But yeah, I've heard a lot of horror stories just from people that know people that live there, and it's pretty bad still.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I would love to spend the night there, but I think you had to be scared more of the outside the place than inside at this moment.
Pretty much. Well, actually, a little bit of both. I think probably just as afraid of the people inside as there is outside. Another interesting story about that is obviously I'm sure you're aware that Richard Ramirez used to live there. He lived there when he was doing his killing spree. Actually, a friend of mine, he had actually lived at the Cecil during that time, and he actually ran into him a few times when he lived there. He'd see Richard come in all crazy, and I don't think he was covered in blood or anything, but he definitely didn't want to have a conversation with him.
Well, yeah, he had an appearance when he came in, and he's just the aura of him. People were like, just stay away from this trouble there. There was trouble there all the time. So well, look what he ended up doing.
Yeah, I have another friend. His uncle was a corrections officer, and he actually was in charge of watching Richard Ramirez.
Oh my God!
And now, mind you, this man has been a corrections officer. I mean, he was a corrections officer for a very long time, and obviously he dealt with the worst of the worst. Killers, murderers, rapists, all the worst people you could possibly imagine. And he said in all his time, working at that prison, he was never afraid. He was always just calm, cool, and collective. But he said Richard Ramirez was the only one that ever skeeved him out. He would just sit there and like very stoic and just stare at him with this blank stare and not move for like forever.
He just had like a creepy look to him.
Yeah. So
go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to ask him probably the same thing. How all the places you've been to, any of the places like really creeped you out that you just wanted to leave?
I typically don't get scared or weirded out at these places. Actually, I get pretty excited, even when it's really bad.
I did the same thing.
But I would say there was probably one place that, I mean, it was exciting, but I was definitely, not upset about leaving. And that was, it was actually it's a small farm town in Maryland. And the story is there was this church in the early 20th century, and as the story goes, the church was taken over by Satanists, and they were killing people in the church, and then it mysteriously burnt down.
Oh my God.
Now, mind you, I mean, it's complete farm country. You know, it's like a kind of a country road. There's just nothing but farms, very little civilization, and there's a lot of crazy stories. Another story about this place is that, you know, not long after it had burnt down, there was a man and his girlfriend driving up that road, and the car broke down. And so the guy goes to his girlfriend and says, I'm going to go and see if I can find a tow truck. So he goes, he gets the tow truck, he gets back, and when he gets back to the car, his girlfriend's hanging from the tree in the spot where the church used to be.
That is like every horror movie imaginable.
I know. That's why, you know, when I was just out there by myself, because all that's left now is just an old cemetery. And and the story gets crazier and crazier. So I've seen other paranormal investigators shoot video and do like a little show at the spot. The problem is that the spot they're going to was a different church. It's not the same one. It was a church that's even older, that was built in the late 1700s. And then for whatever reason, they dismantled it brick by brick and moved it out of town. What I found fascinating about it was that when I was doing research, so this first church, the founding members, their last name was Hell, Hell, which I thought was a crazy coincidence.
Interesting right there, yeah.
I know their last name was Hell, and like I said, the church first of all, it gets dismantled piece by piece, and it, you know, stone by stone. In I want to say like the early 20th century, and it was right around the time too that other church, you know, had the supposed satanic takeover, and that burnt to the ground. So for two churches in a remote area to be, you know, so close to each other, and all of a sudden they both come to this mysterious end, and you know, and just like I said, with the last name Hell for the founding members, and it was just a lot of crazy things about this story. I don't know what to believe about it, but yeah, I would definitely say, you know, you could just feel it when you were there that it was just not, you just didn't feel comfortable. So yeah, I went there, I checked it out, explored around for a little bit, and then I got the hell out.
Oh my God, that was like destined to be a bad place.
Yeah, apparently.
I don't know, Anthony.
And what was the guy's name? Lucifer Hell?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Here's my brother, Lucifer.
There's definitely something to that.
You know what I mean? Here's my big sister, Heaven. You know?
So what was your favorite place that you went to?
Favorite? That's a tough call. I would have to say one in particular. Okay, one overseas would be the Colosseum in Rome.
Yeah.
That was just such a powerful experience, and it was always on my bucket list. So to kind of explore around there was, it was immensely powerful. It was one of those things you just never forget.
So because you mentioned Italy, we're going to have to do this now because Todd's going to force me to do it. Cannolis or tiramisu?
I have to say cannolis.
Yeah, see, you non-Italians don't know the better.
Hey, paisan.
Yeah, you want a cannoli.
We have an ongoing dispute.
You know, but you're nice.
Hey,
nice
compare.
Espresso, little espresso, cannoli. Hey,
bellissimo.
Yeah, you got a little something.
We have an ongoing dispute in this show whether it's cannolis or I always say tiramisu.
I eat them both.
Well,
I'm not gonna lie. I definitely won't say no to either one.
Yeah, that's how I am. But I love tiramisu, so they like to make fun of me. Yeah, well, Anthony you'll eat either. Anthony, you have to say yes to that.
Well, if it's free, yeah. Yeah,
I'm right
you
there with
might
you.
give me yeah, I'll put it across my lips. But good cannoli, espresso, some sambuca. Nah, nothing.
Yeah, forget about it.
Yeah,
The
forget
gabagool.
about it. See? Hey.
You always have
Yeah,
to have the
that's
gabagool.
the gabagool. In Italy, they don't call it gabagool. They call it over here gabagool. But how do you, when you go in your places, how do you choose to go in places? Do you have a list of a bunch of bucket list
Like
type
a
of
bucket
thing,
list
or
kind of
just
It varies. I mean, there's some places that I have in mind that I want to check out, so I'll do that. But a lot of times I find out by accident. I do a lot of research online. I'll look up haunted places in different areas, or I look up at any place that has any sort of reported paranormal activity, and then I'll do searches. I'll Google it, and I found another interesting trick is I'll go to Google Maps.
Okay.
And just go to Google Maps and type in haunted places and or spooky or like whatever keyword. And there's been times where things popped up that I couldn't find on the search engine. I mean, even though it is still technically the search engine, but a great example was there's this Halloween museum in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and it's an awesome place. It's this ginormous Victorian mansion that's owned by this 75-year-old woman that's been collecting Halloween memorabilia for 50 plus years. And she calls herself the Queen of Halloween. She's got neon green hair, really awesome person.
And
the
she's
thing
a
is
little old
she doesn't.
lady.
Yeah, little old lady, 75 years old.
We love her already.
She's awesome. And the crazy part is that she doesn't use the internet at all. She doesn't go online. She doesn't use any social media. So there's no way to find this place. I mean, it just kind of popped up. But yeah, she doesn't advertise at all. It's all kind of word of mouth. And it's a real hidden gem. I mean, the place is incredible. I mean, she's extremely knowledgeable, and it's a museum. I mean, she has stuff from a lot of Victorian Halloween, stuff from Salem, Sleepy Hollow, even just pop culture memorabilia, Halloween costumes from the 80s, you name it. It's phenomenal. But yeah, that was another place that, just kind of stumbled upon. A lot of these places I had never known about. And also, a lot of times people will suggest stuff to me too. They know what I do, and they're like, "Oh, you got to check out this place. I heard it's super haunted." And a lot of times I'll look into it, and if it looks interesting, I'll give it a try.
Yeah, you go with a group, or you just go by yourself?
Most of the time, I go by myself.
Yeah,
I think it's a little bit easier sometimes. Number one, just because I can come and go as I please, or go where I want to go and all that stuff. But even just with the paranormal activity, I mean, it varies. I mean, sometimes when you go with groups of people, you have more energy, so you can they can utilize that to manifest. But at the same time, sometimes a lot of ghosts are antisocial. I know I would be. I'm not a people person at all. So if a group of people walks in my house, I'm going somewhere else.
I'm not people. I would love to scare people. They come in my place, I'm going to scare the crap out of you.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, I got the power. So I see that you did some composing. You were a musician.
Yes. Like I used to do soundtracks for horror movies when I lived out west.
Nice.
So that's a big part of what I do as well. I visit a lot of horror conventions, and I mean, there's a big horror movie element to a lot of the stuff that I do, and it all kind of goes hand in hand. So it's a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, and get inspirations going to those locations too.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I know there's a lot of places. What's it?
Do you write the scores for the movies, or do you perform the music?
Cool. Yeah, I write and record the scores. Basically, like the background music and the sound effects, all that stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love that.
Anything I heard? Because I like horror movies. B movie's my favorite, so.
I think we all do.
I know there's some pretty bad ones. I don't want to mention the names, but I will say this: I did work with Tony Todd, who played the Candyman, and Gunnar Hansen, who played Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
I also worked with the effects crew from the X-Files, which was awesome. I went into their workshop on the set, and they had all these severed limbs and blood pumps and decapitated heads. It was great.
Just like being at home.
It's okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
What do you do for a living? Cut people's heads off, and that's just good.
Pretty much.
So as you travel, are you like sponsored to be able to do this, or are you kind of like, kicking around and making music as you're going, and you're kind of selling that to be able to do this? I mean, like, this sounds like a dream come true.
Let's a little bit of everything. I have a donations page that people contribute to,
Okay.
and I also, I do have some. I could get some pay from social media and advertisers, but it's still a work in progress. It's continuing to grow, and I finally just recently started doing this full time.
Nice.
Because when I started it, I was working at a warehouse, like literally 12-hour shifts all week long. I'd come home, edit. Yeah, I literally averaged about 4 hours of sleep for about 4 or 5 years. I would just, work all day, come home, edit, film. On the weekends, I'd travel, and then sometimes I would get back in town late Sunday night, and then just go straight to work. So
who the hell wants to do that?
Nice I certainly did. Well, I had no choice, but if I did, I don't think I would.
Be a paranormal investigator. We don't sleep the whole weekend, and you go to work on Monday morning.
Yeah, exactly.
It's up and down. You try to get the house. It's like cat naps in between.
Yeah.
So that's.
I really should I should really contact one of the coffee companies for sponsorship.
You should, or we could we love to put out advertisements for whomever's on our show. That's why I was asking, because obviously, if you're constantly traveling, I mean, there has to be a way. Oh, look, there you go.
Nice.
That's Deadly Grounds. Awesome. They actually sell.
Deadly Grounds.
Oh, I think I might have actually tried that.
Yeah.
Was that at, did you get, was that at one of the, I want to say like the Creature Feature weekend in Gettysburg?
It said, who was the guy? Oh, Steve. At Gettysburg, the Gettysburg Bash, they were there last year.
Nice.
Bash. They're there every year.
I'll be at the Bash.
Oh wow, good.
Pam said you're awesome.
Nice.
And Steve wants to know who the guy is with the hat.
Yeah,
I think he knows.
Yeah.
So maybe you get these guys. Maybe get them to a sponsor you if you're looking for a coffee company.
I probably just it'll go right back into their coffee, I'm sure.
Oh, you're kidding.
You are a coffee drinker, I saw.
Oh, definitely.
Oh yeah, you need that.
It's the lifeblood that flows through these veins.
So yeah, you think we're kidding about cannolis? Look.
Oh, what's that?
She wants to know, does anybody like pistachio cannolis?
Oh yeah.
Cannolis. It's inside.
Yeah, I like pistachio everything.
I love pistachios.
I like the ice cream.
Me too.
Yeah. That's usually my first pick.
Yeah. So, like I said, I seen you. I'm trying to, the name that you gave. Of course, I'm not going to say. What is it, Maureen?
What?
This
Sanguine.
Sanguine.
Oh, sanguine.
Macabre. He can't say anything.
I can't say people's names. You can't even barely say my name half the time.
He can't say my last name, and he can't spell either. So,
hey,
I feel better now.
I can't spell. That's why I became an electrician. All I need to know is colors. All I need to know the color of the wire. That's it. I'm happy.
To know.
Yeah.
Hey, that is definitely.
So you want to know where he got the name for this website?
Yeah.
Okay. He wants to know that.
Well, so the word sanguine, it has several definitions. It can be associated with wine. It can be associated with blood. But there's a third definition, and it means basically finding the light in a dark situation. Making light of something dark. Mm-hmm. And obviously macabre is self-explanatory. So, because a lot of what I do, I deal with death on a daily basis. I go to haunted places. I go to battlefields and places where people were murdered and all kinds of terrible things that happen. Obviously, it's very macabre, but I present it. I try to in a I don't know, in a more positive way. I found it to be ironically very uplifting. It's a big memento mori, where when you're confronted with the reality of death on a regular basis, you live your life differently. Your priorities change.
That's true.
So I think it really is pretty uplifting for such a dark subject.
Death doesn't have to be scary. It could
absolutely
be a beautiful. A lot of people in the comment section have had either near-death experiences or death experiences and were brought back, or out-of-body experiences. So they're very aware of what they've been through. Some were terrifying. Some were really beautiful experiences. Mine was peaceful. I'm not afraid to go. It's just what you've been through.
So how did that change your perspective on life after something like that?
Well, I've had a couple of experiences like that. I think that, life is too short, and we only have, and I always say it this way, we only have one chance in this meat suit, and then we can come back. But I'm not afraid to die. I've pretty much done everything I wanted to do, but I do have grandchildren now, so I would really like to spend as much time with them as possible. And I'm more afraid to leave them than to go. I don't want, I'm afraid that they're going to be sad, or, they're going to miss me. That's my problem with it.
Mm-hmm. That's a great perspective, though.
So
especially what's that?
I was going to say, Ufi has a question. She said, Eric, of Gothic travel blogger, horror composer, chef food reviewer, and historian, which is your favorite?
Ooh, I really don't think I can pick my favorite on that. That was kind of the whole reason for creating this site was, throughout my life, there was all these different things I wanted to do. I did the soundtrack thing for a while. I love that, but I'm a huge foodie. I love cooking. I love eating. I love going out to eat.
Nothing wrong with
so
that.
I always thought about doing like a restaurant reviews and stuff like that, or opening a restaurant one day or something food related, because I probably think about that more than anything else. I love history, huge history buff. Ever since I was a little kid, I used to get picked on for it incessantly because, everybody else was drawing band logos or their favorite sports team, and I was drawing battlefields, and I'm like 6 years old drawing battlefields, and a weird kid. I was definitely a weird kid.
I used to love doing that too.
But that was the thing. You definitely understand. Having a passion for all these things, oftentimes in a lot of different genres, you're kind of forced to just pick one thing. It's like when you're asked, what do you want to do? Like, pick one thing, and that's who you are, and that's what you're supposed to do. And I tried that throughout my life. I would try one thing, and I loved it, but I was still longing to do the other things. It just I didn't feel complete or fulfilled. And then plus, I think when you do the same thing over and over, not to say that it gets old, but I don't know, it might lose a little of that spark. And because when I go on these trips, I do so many different things. I'm geeking out about the history. I love going to battlefields and places like that. So I'm geeking out about the history. I always I have a habit of I try to find the oldest restaurant in every town or city I go to, or haunted restaurant. So it's awesome to try out the food and to review the restaurants. So and then the haunted places. And I try to see if I can experience some activity, or just seeing the place firsthand is pretty cool. And then like I said, I do the horror conventions, so that's a big part of the site. I'm always going to horror conventions, and it's such a great group of people. I've noticed, having worked in the movie business, the fans and the actors and actresses in the horror genre in particular alike are some of the nicest, most laid back people I've ever met. They really make it such a pleasure. I've been doing Sanguine Macabre for 6 years now, and I've yet to experience any major dramas or BS or nothing. Everybody's just really, really, really cool people, and that's what makes it so exciting and fun to do every day. But yeah, the whole answer to that question is I can't pick a favorite, because what I do is kind of my way of putting all my eggs in one basket. And that cool. is
and you don't have to choose.
Yeah, exactly. You just do everything that you like to do.
You would do what you enjoy. That's the whole thing. I do investigations. I draw spirits that I see. I do the podcast. Nice. And you do what you enjoy.
Exactly.
Who cares if they like it or not? It's something you enjoy, and something that makes you feel good about yourself.
Exactly.
There's some people out there trying to make you feel bad about yourself. Tell them, F off.
Yeah, exactly.
Van Gogh. But Yay. I tell them, like some of this too. But you enjoying it, you don't have to have a label on what you.
I think that it shows. I can see this with you two, and I see it with others as well. There's a lot of people that do things for a slew of different reasons. Either it's for the attention, or maybe they're trying to catch a big break or something. But the secret is you just have to love what you do. And if you do, it really resonates with people. People can sense, if you're doing this because you enjoy it, and this is a passion of yours, or if you're just doing it for whatever reason,
We're doing it for the millions of dollars that we make.
Yeah.
You and me both.
After this, I'm gonna get my $1 million yacht and go fishing.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll have to team up one of these days, and we'll bring our yachts to the lake.
With some coffee.
Lake. Yeah, Eagle Lake.
Ron's getting our checks printed out as we speak.
Thanks, Ron.
Excellent.
Yeah, Ron. Yeah, that's great.
So we were speaking about restaurants, and ironically, Eric was in my area. You were at two places, right?
Yes. I went to the Noir Dark Spirits, which is it's basically a gothic tapas bar.
Tapas?
Great. Or tapas, the TAPAS.
Oh, it's like, I didn't know that part of it.
Topless?
Tapas. Okay, so small plates.
Yeah, I mumble a little bit. My bad.
Okay.
A gothic bar restaurant.
They serve cannolis there. We'll go.
I was like, no wonder why it's always packed. I didn't know this. Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, if it is, I must have came on the wrong night.
Put the singles out.
We're gonna make it rain. And then the other place is the AV. Is it AV Restaurant and Lounge or something like that?
Yes. Yeah, that's
Okay.
it. Yeah, that one is. I went there because, yeah, as you know, that was used to be called the Banshee, and
It was.
it has a lot of reported paranormal activity at that place. It was used as a morgue during the Spanish flu. And what I love about it too was when you go in there, it looks relatively the same as it would 100 years ago. So yeah, I thought that was. I love places like that where you can do some time traveling, and have some drinks, eat some food. So that was definitely a real cool place to visit.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Yeah.
And I visited the I don't know if you're aware, but the Jason Miller bust in the heart of Scranton. It's right in front of the courthouse. It's a bust of Jason Miller, who played Father Karras in The Exorcist.
Yeah.
That is actually reported to be haunted as well, because it was sculpted by Paul Sorvino, who played Paulie in The Goodfellas.
He's always
he was
here.
a good.
He's always in the
Yeah.
Pocono. Always.
Isn't he?
And that was the thing. Like he died right by. I think the bar he had a heart attack, or he didn't die there, but the bar he suffered a heart attack at was right by his bust, and his old apartment is right across the street from the bust. And Paul Sorvino, when he sculpted the bust of Jason Miller, he put some of his ashes in it. So it's actually kind of his grave in a way.
Oh wow!
So yeah, not only did he live across the street, not only did he die right up the street, but his ashes are also in that sculpture. So no wonder it's been reported to be haunted.
Yeah.
See, now that's
and I also heard. Yeah,
I didn't even know.
I'm always like finding out crazy things. Once I go down that rabbit hole, it's like the story just keeps getting crazier and crazier.
That is.
Yeah.
Also,
So
have you ever heard of a band called Typo Negative?
Of course.
Yeah, Peter Steele.
Christian woman. Yeah, Christian woman.
Yeah, Peter Steele died right there in Scranton too.
Oh
Yeah, he died right there. I know he passed. I used to go see them a lot. I used to like them.
Nice. Yeah. I'm a big fan myself.
Everything with the dead babies and stuff, that.
Like Scranton is well, first of all, that's where they say they filmed The Office, and they didn't. That was just they took the picture of the sign and the restaurant Cooper's. That's where that's located. So if anybody watches The Office, that's where all this is going on. But they recently kind of redid the city a little bit, and there are certain bars and restaurants in the area that have become very fancy. You turn the corner and you don't want to be there. It's kind of like the Cecil. But the AV used to be the Banshee, and that's where all of us used to go, especially on St. Patrick's Day or the night before a big holiday. Nice. And it was like a club. They had DJs or they'd have a band or whatever. Everyone that walked into that place had some kind of paranormal experience. And it was because the Spanish flu, they started stacking the bodies because they had no place to put these people. They were losing, thousands of lives. So they were putting them in these locations, and they weren't bars at the time, but they were businesses or warehouses or whatever. And it was like almost every location in the city at that point. There was another place, which I don't know if you heard about it, but it's called Andy Gavin's. It's the most haunted restaurant in the city. And it looks like a big red house with like the wraparound porch and the turret and whatever. The first time I ever walked in there, it was because I wanted to go in because it was haunted. They have fantastic food. It's right across from the prison. You can't get worse. Oh, nice. But, I walked in, I went into the ladies' room, I did my business, I come back out, and everything is like, you put your hands under it, you get the soap. You put your hands under the sink, you get the water. Same thing but the hand blower is all the way across the room. So is, everything's so far from each other. And everything was turning on by itself. And I'm a psychic medium and I'm sensitive. And I literally walked out. I went back over to the bar, and the guy who owned the place, Charlie, his name was, I believe, I said, so how often do you have something happen here? And he said, well, we always have entertainment. And I said, no, I mean like paranormal. And he goes, oh, all the time. I said, so who's George? And he goes, how did you know about that? And I said, I'm a psychic medium. I just went in and everything was turning on like when I would walk away and I was too far away from it. And he goes, George, huh? And I said, yeah. And he goes, that's his name. And I said,
Nice.
well, he was being extra friendly, but he got everything wrong. Like when I needed the water, he would turn on the hand blower. It was just totally off.
There's a bit of a time delay.
Yeah, but you picked like two great places.
Yeah, this
sounds like a road trip. Let's go do some investigation.
Anthony, it's like 20 minutes.
I'd be down.
It's 20 minutes.
I'd definitely be down.
For me over there. I got a place in Poconos. Yeah, I'm in Queens, but I'm over in the I got a place in the Poconos. So
nice.
I go out there during the summer. So sounds like a road trip. Let's go do something.
I'd be down.
Scranton is super haunted. So is Wilkes-Barre. I mean, like where we use another place we went out a lot when we were kids. But another place that we used to frequent on Saturday nights, about 2 blocks up, it's one of the most haunted houses in the area, and it's the place that what's his name, Tim Wood, he bought this place and he bought it for like $40,000. He could not get rid of it. No one wanted it. He sold it for like $18,000, and he mentioned it several times on what was his most recent show. It was like something Gulch. It was all a haunted ghost town. He mentioned it several times because in the season finale, that town and this town were connected to whatever was happening in the place. And this place, like everyone knows about this house. Everyone. They drive by it all the time. Everything goes on in it. There were several suicides, and it's just like a lot of like poltergeist activity. Like people were thrown around, tossed down the stairs, blood on the walls, like crazy stuff.
I think I might have heard about that now that you mention it. Or it sounds familiar. I don't know if it's the same place, but
if you look up the Wells House, WELLES, the Wells House in Wilkes-Barre, you'll be able to find it.
Nice.
Todd's going right for the Clown Motel.
that place is a trip. Yeah, I mean, literally the Tonopah Cemetery is right next to it. I mean, literally, I want to say about 10, 15 feet from some of the rooms. And yeah, the Tonopah Cemetery itself. Now, mind you, Tonopah, Nevada is this very small, kind of almost ghost town in the middle of the desert. There's literally nothing for 100 miles. Just nothing but barren desert. And then all of a sudden, you have this little town. Yeah, crazy history about it is that, so the Tonopah Cemetery, that's right next to the Clown Motel. The cemetery, it has about 300 graves, and most everyone was buried there from 1901 to 1911. Wow. And a lot of them were victims. There was a major fire in the area that took out Goldfield, which is about 20 minutes away, and Tonopah. So yeah, there was a catastrophic fire. There was a major flood. There was a mysterious plague that killed a lot of people, and there was some Wild West shootouts as well. So literally, one could say that just about everybody in that cemetery knew each other because it's a very small town. So yeah, I think that contributes to its haunted reputation because you have 300 people that all knew each other buried in the same graveyard. And then yeah, the Clown Motel. I know a lot of people don't like clowns very much, so that by default would make it creepy. But I saw it before it was remodeled, and I think it was creepier then, but for different reasons. Because it just had that vibe of this is even a great place for a murder or something like that, because it was mainly, kind of a truck stop, people passing through, or, travelers, they had to stop. And it was in pretty rough shape. I mean, it was definitely, you could tell a lot of people probably did drugs there, or all sorts of illegal activities. But since the remodel, it's a lot, it's a lot nicer now. And I think it's gotten so much attention over the last so many years that now it's more of a tourist attraction. So yeah, they put some love into it. And it's still creepy, but not as bad as it could be.
I don't know if I would go there. I don't mind clowns, but I don't know.
Well, actually, I would recommend. There's another hotel right up the street, and that's even more haunted. It's called the Mizpah Hotel, and it's one of the most haunted hotels in the whole country. And it's a beautiful hotel, absolutely beautiful. I love there. That it almost became like a sanctuary of mine. Just anytime I wanted to get out of town for a bit, and just kind of go to the middle of nowhere, there's this little oasis. This, yeah, I would say it's. I mean, I think it was built in the 1920s, and it's pretty much looked the same ever since. It's real nice, and yeah, it is. I actually had an encounter at that one, so I can say pretty much for certain that it's haunted. So,
so what
yeah,
happened?
I would recommend staying there. And the Clown Motel is literally, you could walk there from the Mizpah. So yeah, I'd stay at the Mizpah and then just walk over and visit the Tonopah Cemetery and check out the Clown Motel.
What happened to you at the Mizpah?
Oh, so a lot of these haunted hotels, I like to explore around, usually like real late at night. And I like to go on off days too, when there's hardly anyone there. So I'll do like a weekday, or sometimes I've done, right before a holiday. And literally I have the whole hotel to myself. But yeah, that one evening I want to say it's like 2-3 in the morning. I'm walking around the fourth floor, and it's dead silent. The few people that were there that night, they were all asleep. All of a sudden I hear these kids laughing and running around, and I'm looking around. I don't see nothing. I'm going down the hall. I turned all the corners. I mean, it's not a very big hotel, so I went all around, and I didn't see any kids anywhere. But I kept hearing kids laughing and running around and playing, and a whole bunch of sounds like that. So, anyways, just to make sure I wasn't losing my or if not to make sure that it wasn't somebody in the hotel. I mean, I know it's kind of weird, but I literally walked past each hotel room door and kind of like, I know it's creepy, but I was kind of like put my ear close to the door, seeing if people were talking.
Oh, you tried to phone. That's what we would do.
Yeah. I mean,
yes.
I'm on it. I'm gonna validate this.
Way to do it.
So yeah, I literally walked by every single hotel room door on the fourth floor and listen. I'd sit there like some sort of serial killer, and yeah, I just stood there and listened, and nothing. There was absolutely no sound coming from any of them.
No heavy breathing out any of them?
Nope, just me.
No heavy breathing coming out of the apartments? No? Okay.
No. I was the only one, especially after all the walking I did. But yeah, and the thing is I normally don't do my research until after I visit a place. So when I got back, yeah, and I think it really helps, because you don't go there with a preconceived notion of what might happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I got back after that particular experience, I was researching the reported paranormal activity, and there was several reports of kids on the fourth floor, like ghost kids on that very floor. So after that, it was pretty sure that it was legitimately a paranormal experience.
Yeah.
Or at least that it's very plausible that it could be.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, stuff like that you can't prove all the time. You can't prove it because there's no kids. but you look at it like, okay, it's questionable. There's no kids that I heard laughing anywhere. It's the middle of the night. I'm hearing these children, but now you go back and you find out that people have heard children in the middle of the night on those floors. So what your experience is, now you look more for like, maybe it is possible that I heard a child, a spirit of a child, because it's known to be done, on that floor. It happens.
Exactly.
So you experience, it's nothing that you could say, okay, I heard, unless you had some kind of recording equipment on you. It's a personal experience, but you can't really prove because it's what you hear. But if it shows that something's been going there on for years, and you experienced what was going on there, and you didn't know what was going on. You didn't have the experience. You didn't do the research before you went there, so that helps out too. So, but it sounds that's cool. That's very good because yeah. So
what's it?
No, you got to experience something that was going on there, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no. Cool. I typically when I go to these haunted places, I don't do a formal paranormal investigation. Mm-hmm. I do participate, like with Pam and Steve. I participate with the investigations that they do. Mm-hmm. But typically when I go to a place, I don't for a couple of reasons. Number one, especially this day and age, and I'm sure y'all run into the same problem now because we have AI and just all the video editing software. It's like, I mean, you could legitimately get something and people are not going to believe you. Yeah. Like I've had some other more intense experiences, and I know for a fact that they're legitimate. And I could tell people left and right all about it, but some are so crazy that people aren't going to believe me. So what I do is I will go to these places, and yeah, I would like to have an experience if it does happen. But mainly what I do is I show people the place. I tell them the reported paranormal history that it has. Its actual history of whoever might have lived there that might be creating this paranormal activity, and then just I'll leave it up to the viewers. Let them investigate it. Don't take my word for it. I mean, I'll tell you every experience I had, and I'll tell you that a lot of places I don't have experiences. I'll always, what I do is not predicated on whether I get activity or not, and that is the reason why I think I still have most of my hair. Because
what? What are you talking about?
I'm kidding. Yeah, because it can be so frustrating. And you see a lot of these shows where, like, the whole point is for them, if they don't get activity, they're out of a job. Right. So a lot of these people now, unfortunately, are embellishing the hell out of things. Yeah. They're staging it. And it's so much that it's become the boy that cried wolf. I mean, a lot of these mainstream paranormal investigators are staging so much crap that when anyone does get something legitimate, no one takes it seriously, and that's very frustrating. It can be such a headache for what we all are doing. Yeah. So yeah, I will go to these places. Sometimes I have an experience. A lot of times I don't. I will tell people exactly what happened, but I always encourage everyone to go for themselves. Check it out for yourselves. Do your own investigation. See what you think. Yeah, and I think that's the only way to really validate it. So I think, unless they go themselves, they really can't say anything.
I mean, and before AI and all this stuff's coming out now, and before, there's always, if you got something, there's always going to be somebody saying, "Oh no, that's fake. You're faking it," and that's been going on for years. You know? it doesn't matter what you get. You're always gonna have somebody say you're faking it, or somebody's not agree with you, or I mean, if you feel you got something, and then if you have friends that are into it, like you got Pam and Steve, and we got people that do, investigate. I got a team, and Maureen's with us and everything. You have something, you pass it on amongst somebody that, what do you think you see? You don't tell them what you see. What do you think? Or what do you think you heard? Or is there something here? Let somebody else listen. And then if you got a bunch of people and you're like, wow, and they're all coming up with the same thing,
you're onto something.
Okay?
Right.
But you're always going to have somebody maybe in that crowd or another crowd saying, nah, no, that's fake, or there's nothing there. I don't hear it, so it's not there. So what you feel, you got something, you look into it. If you want to pass amongst your friends that have the like-minded experience as you, I mean, it's there.
Exactly.
You're going to have too many people out there saying no. So,
and that's the thing. I don't have the patience to argue with people about it.
Me neither.
I don't even really care to convince people, because the way I see it, and I'm sure you all feel the same way, when you have a legitimate experience, that's exciting by itself. To have some kind of personal proof that there's something more than what meets the eye. That is enough for me. And whether people believe me or not, I don't care. Because that doesn't change my excitement about things, and it doesn't make me any less enthusiastic about going to these places. And plus, I try. I'm not a scientist, but I try my best to offer a tangible scientific explanation for a lot of things that can make it somewhat plausible. I mean, a great example is we have radio waves floating all around us right now. You can't see them, you can't hear them, but they're there. They're right there. And in fact, not only are these radio waves floating all around us right now, but some of them are playing songs. Some of them are of songs of people that died a long time ago. So, without the assistance of a radio receiver and speakers, you would never know these things were even in existence. And it's a lot of things. A great example is like when you touch something. A pulse goes up your nerve endings to your brain. Your brain says, I'm touching it, sends the information back down to your nerve endings, and you experience that physical sensation.
Right.
It just goes to show you that everything that you experience in life, whether physical, whatever, is all in your head. It's all in your head. And it's in those electrical pulses. It's in electricity. And now I'm going to get real kind of nerdy here, but I mean, atoms make up everything in existence, and the nucleus of the atom is made up of electrons. I think there is definitely a tie with electrons and electricity, with the concept of ghosts. I think, we have somehow. I think the Earth naturally records things. Or actually, let me give a different example. I think there's a naturally occurring Wi-Fi that occurs. And that when we think thoughts, those impulses that I was just talking about that go down the nerve ending, we are broadcasting those all the time. And we're sending and receiving messages all the time. We just don't realize it. You think that you created this thought, but no, you received it and you're reacting to it. That's why, like, you think of someone and they mysteriously call you that moment. Or you get a song stuck on your head and you turn on the radio and that song's being played. It's because hundreds of people are hearing this song and broadcasting it with their brains, and you're downloading that message, and that's why you got that song randomly pop in your head. And I think a lot of these things are actually very normal. And I think, just like the paranormal, I think the existence of ghosts, it's a very normal. Science is going to prove it at some point. It's just that we haven't caught up yet. I mean, you think about, even the microscope wasn't even invented until the 1700s. So for the hundreds of thousands of years that humans existed, there was this whole world of microscopic organisms that we did not even know existed. And it wasn't until the last 300 years that we even know about it. So, I mean, it's the same with ghosts. It's a naturally occurring phenomenon that we just haven't been able to properly gauge yet. But we're getting there. We're making progress.
Mentally.
Exactly. Well, I think there's another weird theory I have, but okay, so when you think something, your thoughts actually travel at the speed of light. And anything that travels at the speed of light.
Mine doesn't go at the speed of light anymore, I left a lot of them back in the 70s. A lot of stuff.
I don't know. These days, I think we've all kind of slowed it down a little bit.
So speed of light, I don't know, less than sound.
Yeah, it's like give me a minute. I'm tired.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, just one thing that occurred to me is that if thoughts travel at the speed of light and time freezes for anything that moves at the speed of light, then it is theoretically possible that certain intense thoughts are frozen in time. And maybe it goes even faster if they're really intense, which would mean that it would actually go back in time. So that's something I've wondered too.
That's right.
Oh, just
it could be like a dimension hopping kind of thing.
Yeah, I think perhaps that some paranormal experiences aren't actually a live action ghost encounter. I think it's actually you're tapping into you're actually going back in time. I know it sounds insane, but once again, if thoughts travel at that speed and time freezes for them, I guess they're kind of suspended in time. So it is possible to kind of time travel mentally, not physically, mentally. And that's why, like I said, what's it?
That's your consciousness, though.
Yeah. Well, your consciousness and other people's consciousness. And yeah, I like I said, everything in the physical is all in your head anyway. So I mean, I guess technically it's not that much different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are, like you're saying, there's groups of people that, for some reason, they seem to know what the next person is going to do before they do it. So it's like that what you're saying is like a connection between everybody. So
yeah, I think it's completely natural. I think we are networked to this naturally occurring Wi-Fi that I mentioned, and I think people that are sensitive, like mediums and whatnot. My analogy is that like when you turn on the radio, most people have it, where, like when you have a lot of fuzz, but you might be able to hear like a little blip here and there from a station, but it's too far away to really discern anything. To me, in my opinion, mediums have the dial turned a little closer to the station.
We're just
so we're all, and that's the thing. Like you'll get more of a signal. You'll get a better signal. You'll be able to pick out like it's real fuzzy, but I know what that song is. And yeah, but I once again, I think it's something that's natural that we all kind of have. It's just some people much more than others.
Yeah. So RL says, I beg to differ, as there's a chemical mechanism to thought, or how could one become intoxicated, and that takes time.
Well, explain that. Chemical mechanism to thought. Let me think about that.
Well, in the 70s, we had a lot of chemicals altering, helping us out in the 70s. So.
Well, I think the creation of the thought, perhaps that's true in the creation of the thought, but when you send the signal, it travels that fast. So, the chemical reaction that basically imprints that thought, that might not be as fast, but when the thought is being sent, like I said, say down to your nerves, to your fingertips or whatever, from what I read anyways, it travels at the speed of light.
Yeah, because when you don't even think about moving your hands or whatever. There are so many things in your body that are autonomically controlled that you're not doing it yourself. But
exactly,
when you think about like, what am I going to have for dinner? Chicken, fish, those thoughts are taking a little bit more time.
Yes.
there
That's
are
exactly
thoughts
it.
that are like so fast that you're not even thinking about it. So there
Well,
are
exactly.
some things that are a little bit longer, but, and he said specifically synaptic gaps between axons and dendrites must be bridged by chemicals. We read.
Well, I guess a good example is when you're talking on the phone with someone. Say you're talking to someone on the other side of the planet. So literally, almost instantaneously, you're having a real-time conversation with someone that's 3, 4, 5, 6,000 miles away, and that's because it's traveling that fast. So yeah, once again, internally, it might not always travel that fast, but thoughts can travel that fast. I think that's the whole point, is that they do and they can. Not to say all of them. That's why, because you don't have ghost encounters of someone brushing their teeth. There's certain thoughts that don't, or certain events or experiences. Yeah, you never see someone go in the bathroom or brushing their teeth, or the things that you don't even really think about.
Yeah.
It's always something more traumatic or more intense, and I think it probably vibrates faster because of something that intense that happened. And so I think that's why maybe those more intense thoughts travel faster. This is just a theory. Once again, I am no scientist. I don't know. I'm just kind of trying to think of ways to explain, because that's the thing about once again, the paranormal. The big problem I've run into over the years is that I noticed that spiritualists tend to be too spiritual and scientists tend to be too scientific, and they get real stubborn. It's like they're not willing to entertain different ideas, and that's the thing. That's how, I mean, even in science itself, a lot of discoveries that we're making, unless it has the funding, they're not going to pursue it. So a lot of these things we kind of have to, I guess it's more philosophy than anything, but yeah, I mean, we have to kind of examine these things ourselves and try to come up with an explanation for it.
That's why I've always kind of wondered if spirits, they're not necessarily like in heaven or in hell or on the other side or wherever people talk about them being. It's more like in a different dimension, because they can be here and then they can be there, then they can be here, then they can be there. And if they're brushing their teeth, they don't want us to see that part of it. They only want us to see them when they want to give a message, or they can pop in real quick. So we're not seeing them taking a shower or brushing their teeth. I mean, sometimes we might, I don't know. I've never really seen anything like that. But, I've seen them when they're ready to give a message, or they're, showing their death state or whatever. They're not wanting us to see their everyday things, unless it's kind of like a non-intelligent haunting, and it's just kind of like playing through as a loop. Then you see that kind of stuff.
I think that's the tricky part too, is deciphering between energy imprints and an apparition of sorts. Once again, I guess you could pretty much figure that out with the EVP recorder. If you're having an interactive conversation, then it's obviously not an imprint.
Right.
But if you don't get anything, it's hard to tell sometimes. So yeah, the whole point to a lot of the rambling I just did was that I'm always trying to find a way to present this in a way that's digestible to the one thing I mean, I've a lot of different religions and spiritual groups always try to tell you, like, this is the only way, everybody else is wrong, that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I try to offer something tangible, something that you could possibly back up with science. But there's a huge spiritual element to it as well. A great example was I was telling this story the other day. When I was real young, I think I was 21 at the time.
Really young.
Yeah, I
It's not
consider
like
that really young now. Well, it feels like it sometimes.
I know. Same.
But I was bartending at this community where you had to be 55 or older to live at, and there was this one guy, Bob, that he's a regular at the bar, and it's just an awesome guy. I mean, he was 80 years old, but he didn't look a day over 60. And we had a lot of great conversations while I was working. And then one day I decided, after I finished my shift, that I was gonna have a beer with him. I'm like, no, screw it. Like, this guy's real cool. We had some beers and we started chatting. And it turns out, he worked. He was a government scientist, and he actually was friends with Albert Einstein.
Wow!
And he was telling me the story where Einstein was addressing a group of scientists, and he was basically asking all of them, you all know gravity, right? And of course they all raised their hand. Yes, of course we know gravity. Everybody knows gravity. And he's like, but do you really know gravity? It's like, we really don't have a way to measure it. Can't see it. There's really no way to definitively prove. I mean, yeah, I mean the theory is pretty solid, but basically what he was getting at is that they really they more so believe in gravity than they actually know gravity. And that's where he tied in his spiritual beliefs, and this is coming from Einstein. This isn't just some cracked out, crazy person. Well, maybe he was crazy, but he was definitely smart too.
Yeah, but he had credibility.
Exactly. And yeah, that's basically what he tied in his spirituality with the science. Is basically, there are a lot of things that we have a pretty good idea about, but we more or less, even in the science community, we believe in them. We don't truly know what they are. So yeah, there's a lot of things. I'll never discredit anyone for their beliefs or their theories or whatever.
No one's wrong. I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
everyone has just a different filter.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different belief in everything, but we are experiencing almost the same thing. You might see something, I might see something, but the way you describe it's different than the way I describe it or the way Maureen would describe it. So we're all seeing the same thing, but it's the way we tell it as it is, as how we feel it was or what we've seen. So yeah, it's so many different things out there going on, and like some people into Bigfoot, some people in UFOs, some people are into the supernatural, some people are witches,
and some people could like feel the same. If all three of us experienced the same thing and we felt it, we could have felt it differently, and then we can also explain it differently. So we're all getting something in a different way, but it happened the same way.
Exactly. I like to use the analogy of like the light going through a prism. It reflects all different colors, but it's all the same light. And it's kind of the same.
And it shoots all different ways.
Yeah.
It's not like a straight beam; it's tilted.
Exactly.
I like that analogy. And I was going to ask you before you said that earlier. I wanted to know what was your craziest experience, but then you said people won't understand or they're going to think that you're crazy or whatever. And the thing is, I always talk about my experiences, and I don't care who thinks what about me, or they think that I'm crazy, or they think that it's unbelievable or what. It's my experience. That's the way it happened. And some people are like, that's nuts that it happened that way, or whatever. I don't care. That's what happened. I'm telling the truth. Only I can know that for sure, and whether they believe it or not, but I'm speaking my truth. And if you look at me, you can tell that I'm telling the honest truth about everything that transpired. And my story never changes. So don't be afraid to talk about it. That's your story.
That's right.
All right. Actually, I'll give you the exclusive, because I haven't even posted this on Sanguine Macabre for that very reason.
Anthony, break this
I
down.
actually, I hugged the
can't
Black
spell.
Dahlia.
The Black Dahlia. I love that story.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
I actually hugged her ghost.
What?
Yes, that's why I said it's crazy. That's why I never talk about it. This is one of those things where I know it was definitely real, but I feel silly half the time even mentioning it, because it sounds so crazy. But
you got
the
all
story
this right
itself
here
isn't.
into it.
No,
know?
you just my
You
heart
just got it to
stopped.
scream. I love the Black Dahlia.
This is a great story.
I was staying at the Millennium Biltmore in Los Angeles, which is a hotel that she's known to haunt. It was the last place she was seen before her death.
Mm-hmm.
And a little side note, it was also the hotel that appeared in the movie Ghostbusters, which I thought was awesome.
Yes.
I would have gone there just for that, where they caught Slimer. Yeah, so I was at the hotel, and I had a couple of friends with me, and we were just kind of hanging out in the hotel room, having some drinks, and just BSing for a little bit. And I decided I was gonna step outside for a moment. So I go down the elevator, I go outside, I come back, I get in the elevator, and all of a sudden, it gets ice cold, and I know the difference. It wasn't air conditioning. When you get that bone chilling cold spot.
You just know.
I decided, I just knew it. I felt it. So I decided I was going to try to communicate with her, and I said, if this is you, I basically said it breaks my. And I'm by myself in the elevator, mind you. I said it breaks my heart what happened. You're welcome to hang out with us. We're it's a safe place for you to hang out, and I ended this brief conversation, or one-sided conversation, with I wish I could give you the biggest hug. I really, my heart does break for you. So anyways, I get back to the room, and my friends decide they want to explore around the hotel, because it's a beautiful hotel. It's beautiful, historic, Art Deco, early 20th century hotel. So we're exploring around, and we get down to the lobby. Now, a little backstory about my one friend. She's extremely personal space, very antisocial, not touchy-feely at all. She doesn't care. She'll actually offend some people, because she will not get anywhere near them, and kind of very, in her own personal space. And she's real strict about this. Just who she is. I totally get it. So, it's no problem. I'm kind of that way myself, so I completely understand. Anyways, just out of nowhere, all of a sudden, in the middle of the hotel, she starts bawling and screaming, and she's crying her eyes out and wailing, and throwing this huge spectacle. And everyone in the hotel turns and looks at me like, "What the hell did you do to her?" They're looking at me like I attacked her or something. And she's just going off, freaking out, and she's shaking, and she's crying, and she's wailing, and all of a sudden she runs up to me, and she latches on and gives me this ginormous hug, and she's shaking, and she will not let go, and she's just absolutely I want to say for 5-10 minutes, just would not let go. She's just crying and hugging me, I was just such in shock, because this is so unlike her, that it finally dawned on me. It's like, wait a minute, oh my God, is this what I think it is? And shortly thereafter, when she finally she came to, and she stopped crying, and she looked at me, and then she just kind of looked shocked, and she pulled away real quick and backed up. And she had no recollection of that whole thing, no recollection at all. She completely blacked out.
Body jumped.
Yeah, she completely blacked out. was completely mortified at the fact that she was making the scene and the fact that she was hugging somebody.
Oh my God!
So at that
That's
very
super
moment,
rare.
it is, and the thing is so I knew that at that moment I had little question of what happened, but once again when I got home, this was another one of those events where I did the research afterwards, and sure enough, the spot where the Black Dahlia is most known to haunt is that elevator. So after, and mind you, this was well after that whole experience when I got home from the adventure and did my research. And when I read that, then I knew for sure. I already knew, but that kind of sealed the deal for me. And I was like, holy stuff! I just hugged the Black Dahlia.
Wow.
And yeah, you could definitely feel. I mean, not just with my friend's reaction, but even before that, you could just feel a lot of pain, a lot of. She was definitely, going through a lot of emotional anguish. Obviously, I mean, what she went through was horrific. So, it's definitely. So yeah, I could definitely say that hotel is haunted, and
that's amazing.
I don't know if she's still. Not sure if she's still there, but she was that day.
But you offered a hug to her. She goes to the one person who would never ever do something like that. That was the biggest validator you could possibly get. And it's super rare to have something like that happen. Like, I can body jump someone just in case, like if somebody's having an anxiety attack, I could body jump them to calm them down. I can control my own autonomic system. But that's huge, like huge.
It was one of those experiences where, I mean, I've had, some pretty intense experiences of a comparable nature, but that one, that was the most intense in the more recent years. And that kind of really sealed the deal for me. I don't know. And that was the thing, like I was saying before, I never mentioned it on the site because I know I'm going to get a bunch of people thinking I'm crazy or that I'm making it up or whatever. But to me, just I know what happened, and that's enough for me. I mean, it really is. I mean, I was there. I had that experience, and just to know that I can't. I'm trying to explain it in every which way I possibly can, but I may not know how to properly explain it just yet, but I know that at least there is much more to the story than what meets the eye with this experience we call life. And that was monumental. I mean, it really does change the way you look at your own life and how you approach the world. So yeah, I feel very fortunate to have had that experience, and
that's something.
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
That is something. Experience like that, you don't forget, and it's wow. That's very heavy. That's wow. That's intense.
That makes me want to cry because she was she's probably been so lonely and just really wanted, some kind of recognition of what transpired. And
well, I've been back a couple of times since, and every time I go there, I always do a little tribute to Elizabeth.
That's sweet.
That's wild. That's wild. Wow.
Yeah. I keep hoping that someone solves her murder. Like they're getting close or they know who it is or whatever, but it's never been absolutely solved. Which these poor women, I mean, she's obviously the most well-known, but there have been so many of them that have been murdered the same way. And it must have been terrifying.
Yeah. That's another thing that's so fascinating about doing this is you hear all these different stories. And just, especially from a century ago or before, just how many crazy things have actually happened. I mean, now we have cell phones and not much can happen without somebody seeing it or capturing it. But
Yeah.
back then, I mean, all kinds of messed up stuff went on. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Like, there's just a lot of people that have died that, went through something traumatic that we'll never know. And I think that's creates a lot of activity that by itself.
Yeah.
Well, it'd never be found or identified because there was no DNA back then.
Exactly. There's some crazy ass stories though. One is one of my favorites. This actually happened. I know this is gonna sound like I'm making this up. This really did happen.
We believe it.
Yeah, this happened in New Orleans in the French Quarter. There was these two brothers called the Carter brothers, and in the early 20th century, they had this belief that if they drank the blood of someone for 7 days, they would become a vampire. So they were kidnapping people and tying them to chairs and draining their blood for 7 days and drinking on them, and then killing them and discarding their bodies. So they were really racking up a body count here, and they were kidnapping people all the time. And one day they went off. I think they worked at the docks or something. They went off to work, and this one woman or a girl, woman, whoever they had tied to a chair, who they were bleeding. She got out of her restraints and she runs out of the house covered in blood, screaming bloody murder, like, someone help, someone help. So she gets the cops. The cops break into their house and they find all these bodies. I think it was like 15 bodies, and there was, I think, 1 or 2 victims who were still alive as well. So the Carter brothers get home, and it takes 10 cops to subdue them. They seem to have this superhuman strength. They were just throwing them off like they were nothing. It literally took 10 cops to finally apprehend them. So they go to jail. They're tried, they're convicted, and sentenced to death. So after they're executed, their bodies are brought to the family crypt in New Orleans, and put in the crypt. End of story. And you would think that's it right there. But no. I guess one of their other relatives later on dies, and they open the crypt, and they go to put her body into the family crypt, and their bodies were both missing. But that's not the weird part. Yeah, they were completely missing, both bodies. But the crazy story, what makes the story even more absolutely insane, isn't that. It's the fact that one of the surviving victims that they rescued from the house that day went on to do the exact same thing with twice as many murders. They ended up killing 30-something people and doing the same thing, draining their blood. It's insane, and this really did happen.
That is not.
And ever since, there's the Carter brother house in the French Quarter still has lots of reports of people seeing the Carter brothers there. Sometimes they'll be up on the balcony and they'll jump down from up on the roof to the street and run off and
with bat wings.
Yeah, you would think. Now that part I'll leave up. I don't know what to believe about that part, but everything before it really did happen. And that's what I mean. There's some crazy things that really did happen. And every time I go on these adventures, I don't know, to be honest. Especially like I said, for one of their victims to go on and do the same thing.
Yeah, I know.
And kill twice as many people. There's got to be something to it.
Do you think that like they were walking around talking to each other or talking about what they were going to do, that they wanted to become more powerful, that they were going to have everything, and that survivor was listening to this and they were like, so that's why they're doing this. Maybe maybe I should keep doing this. And they started doing it.
It could be. I mean, it's very much a possibility.
And when was this supposed to have happened? In like the early 1900s?
Yeah, I think it was like the 1920s, I think. Maybe a little bit before that.
Well, people were crazy back then. That's when Prohibition was going.
Exactly.
Yeah. No liquor. They got to drink something else. Why not blood?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna have to read about that. That's so interesting to me.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story.
That is very cool. And then they didn't find them in their graves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless it was somebody who stole the bodies.
I mean, it could be.
For like
someone
education of, something. That happened.
It could be someone
grave
trying
robber.
to. Yeah, I mean, maybe they were trying to frame him, or that's true too, because I'm sure they were pretty famous at the time. So,
yeah,
and they had already taken so much blood in. Maybe someone was trying to see, did it change their body at all?
That could be. Well, especially, I forget. I think someone was telling me when I went to Philadelphia and I visited Benjamin Franklin's grave.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shoot! Someone was telling me that they excavated somewhere near there, and they where he used to hang out, and they found all these bodies and stuff.
Well, there were bodies put in the park near the old prison in Old Town, and they put the bodies there from the Revolutionary War, but someone kept stealing the bodies because they were taking them to the medical college so that they could work on, how to do a transplant or how to do, something like that. And then they started paying whomever was watching over the park where they were piling the bodies up. And that's how the grave robbers started to be known. So you're right about that.
And didn't they get in some kind of trouble in England too? Obviously pre-revolution, with the Hellfire Club, I think it was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing medical experiments and getting in all kinds of trouble.
They were doing like worshiping with pieces of bodies and things like that with the Hellfire Club.
So, H.H. Holmes used to steal bodies and sell them to the local schools and stuff. And
I always want. That's one place I really want to check out is that post office in Chicago, where the murder house used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there's a lot of reports of activity in the basement. I guess that's the one part that's still.
Part of the basement on the post office, not the whole basement, but part of the basement is still the original basement, and it's the basement where he used to cremate the bodies after murdering them.
Yeah.
Isn't his? I think his grave's not too far from Philly.
It's
unmarked
in Philly.
It's not far from there, I think.
I know it's in PA somewhere. We had his grandson on, Jeff Mudgett. He was on our show. We interviewed him.
Nice.
And
he even invited us to Chicago to, go with him into the basement of the post office because he had experiences there, and he said, "Why don't you come in and we'll investigate together?"
I think we have another road trip.
Road trip. City, let's go.
Yeah, and I remember watching a show. Someone said that I don't know if it was like a haunting or something like that. Someone said that they went into the post office basement, they worked there, and they felt something behind them, like some kind of energy. And they saw a man with, I think it was like a man with a hat and a cane, and bottles were being thrown at them because his apothecary bottles were still kind of rolling around on the floor in the basement. Like they didn't completely clean everything up. And
that's wild.
Yeah, and he was coming for him, whomever this person was, and it was getting worse. Like it followed him home.
That's crazy.
Jeff said that he was having seizures after being in the basement, and I said, "How do you know you were having seizures?" And he said, "Because I don't remember being there." And I said, "But were you by yourself or were you with someone else?" And he said, "No, I was by myself." And I said, "How do you not know that he didn't take over your body? You are his great-great-grandson." And he said, "Well, Maureen, I guess I don't know that." And I said, "Maybe we should investigate that."
Mm-hmm.
You don't just take seizure medication, you know? They were just giving him medication.
like, oh, I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
Random seizures.
And he said he
That's
never had a
crazy.
seizure before that or after that.
Oh, yeah, that's got to be something to that. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a hell of a coincidence. You have to admit.
Yeah, so that would be awesome to go there, go down that
Yeah.
basement and
Yeah, it would.
do something.
And weirdly enough, towards the end of the show, I said, was he known to wear like a half cape? And he said, yeah. And I said, he's behind you right now, which I
Nice.
think you're not having seizures. He's actually taking over your body, which is even weirder. And I said, you really need to get this taken care of because you have to get him like separated from you or this is going to continue. And who's to say that he wasn't being taken over like how your friend was? And she didn't remember anything, just like he said, he's not remembering. And he's not doing something like H.H. Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would. I've often, I've seen a couple people get possessed. Obviously that one time, but there was a couple other times where it was far more unpleasant. And yeah, it really does make me wonder if yeah, I mean, some people do some pretty awful things, and yeah, I know there's a lot of times it is someone suffering from a mental problem of sorts, but it really does make you wonder if some people are doing things. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's not necessarily a mental disorder. Maybe there's something more to it.
Mm-hmm. Like their body's being taken over, and you would never. I mean,
Yeah.
the guy is so sweet and well spoken, and he was a retired attorney or something, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he would never do anything like this, and to have someone be just feeding him seizure medication and it's not that at all, and have him walking the streets and doing something that's illegal. I would hate to have something like that happen to other people. You know what I mean? It's just such a terrible way of handling it.
Mm-hmm. No. Yeah, that'd be an interesting place to go.
Yeah.
But so I mean, we keep on talking about this. I know you're into horror. I see you lost. I mean,
You
want to talk about horror? Why we got less than these movies here? The movies you into. What's like your favorite horror movie?
Oh, that's another tough one. I think for the nostalgia of it, I like a lot of the 80s horror movies. And then, of course, Exorcist, too. I know that's the 70s, but yeah, I mean, that movie, it's just one of those movies that I still see a lot of people comment about how much it creeps them out. Yeah, so I mean, all these years later, and it still holds its own. That's a pretty good horror movie.
I know my brother's still afraid of it.
I know lots of people.
It's understandable.
We met Linda Blair, him and I, and we were talking.
Yeah,
you freak me out more than anything. And she was so sweet. She was just like,
she is.
Dogs, she rescues dogs and she tries to help the dogs. And she's trying to give us pamphlets on that. And he's like, you're freaking me out. He's like, so he backed off.
I think that's the thing. After you meet Linda, I don't know. The movie isn't as scary after that.
Yeah, she's such a sweet woman. What I met of her, I met her like once, but it was like really something. The Exorcist is a good movie. You like into B movies too. Like, I used to follow all the Puppet Masters and all those. Yeah, it was like the little creatures. The one movie I know scares my wife and my brother too. It's Trilogy of Terror. That little African doll.
That was
with the teeth and everything. So,
So apparently, you're not a big fan of killer dolls.
No, I don't care about dolls. I mean, I when I stay at the Shanley Hotel, when I stay there, the room I stay in is full of dolls, and they're known to, the one doll I caught it and it looked like the head turned, and that's the room I stay in. So dolls don't bother me. They're this big. What are they gonna do to me? Hey, I'll sit on
true.
them. Well,
You'll find out.
Speaking of Puppet Master, there's one of my favorite. I mean, it's not haunted, at least not that I know of, but there's a monster museum in Boulder City, right by the Hoover Dam, and it's called Tom Devlin's Monster Museum, and he's the one that did a lot of the work for Puppet Master, and he actually has a whole bunch of the actual puppets that appeared in the movie in the museum. It's a real cool place to check out. So if you ever visit Vegas, it's only like a 20-minute drive from there, half an hour, 20 minutes. Definitely worth checking out.
My favorite one was the guy with the knife.
Yeah, Blade.
That was my favorite. I like knives, so I collect them. But yeah, so,
nice.
So, you said that you did some scores for movies and stuff. I know you said you didn't want to talk about it, but they're that bad?
Well, it's pretty bad. Well, the music didn't turn out bad, but yeah, the movies aren't that great. But hey, it was a paycheck, and it was great working with everybody. I mean, it was definitely a fun project.
And you got credits.
Yeah.
When you're on the set with people like that, it's great. It really is.
Yeah.
Have you ever done the Chill Fest in New Jersey, Pacific?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have a table there. Or you just go.
Actually, I had a table. That's the time I met Linda Blair. It was after the very first movie I ever did the soundtrack for. Yeah. We were at the convention. We had a booth and we were signing autographs and all that stuff. And yeah, that's where I met Linda Blair. Because the thing is when you do the convention, you literally share the hotel with all the actors and actresses. So
yeah,
I mean, I was literally pissing next to Kane Hodder, Jason Voorhees. I had a breakfast with Michael Berryman from The Hills Have Eyes. It was an awesome experience. Crazy part was that that convention was in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and that was literally right before 9/11. So I was like right there by the Twin Towers, right before. So yeah, that was crazy. Just that I went from experiencing like being on top of the world and just living the dream, and then everything just got real crazy after that. It was definitely a pretty intense period of time. But yeah, I've definitely gone to Chiller. It's a great convention.
Yeah, I used to go there all the time for years and years. Then they moved it to the new location, and that's when I was like getting crazy there. I didn't like it as much, but I hear they're moving it back to the other location, which is.
I'm curious too, because I looked it up on the website, and it didn't seem like it was very it's not as horror oriented as it used to be. It seemed to have a lot more other stuff, but I don't know. Yeah, I haven't been since 2001, so I don't know how much different it is now.
Yeah, I haven't
but
been there.
It was definitely.
I met what's his name? Lake from Emerson Lake in Palmer. Keith Emerson.
Oh, nice.
I met Keith Emerson and Lake Palmer. I met them there. I was like, oh, cool. Listen to music. I play drums. I'm a drummer. So
hey, me too. That was my first major the instrument that I first started playing was the drum kit.
The drum, yeah, the kit. So, I love my kit. They're getting old now. It's not a kid doing. The hands don't do as much. They can't hold on the sticks because I got damaged a lot from motorcycle accidents.
Yeah,
all kinds of shit. But Yeah, I got to meet them there and a bunch of different, Linda Blair and all that. Then you stay, you watch the show afterwards, and Lita Ford. I had a couple. I went to just get an autograph from her, and she just took me and she hugged me, and she just hung out and we were just talking to her. Her husband was there with the mobile and everything, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool."
Maybe she had the hots for you.
Maybe. I look like a freaking meatball. They're not gonna don't me for fucking dinner. Come on.
She wanted your cannoli.
Well, maybe. No. So it's cool. It was a good experience there.
See, we are off the rails.
That sounds pretty
awesome. And Alice Cooper, I got to meet there also.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's cool.
That sounds like that must have been that's a great convention, that one.
Yeah, that was when the old location. Then it went to the new location. Things changed, So, but I changed the subject, and everybody's getting on me. Okay, did I change it that bad?
I don't mind.
There's a question there.
When was the last time you watched The Lost Boy? Oh my God, it's on TV all the time. Do you just you see it, you watch it?
I think
one of the greatest movies ever.
Yeah, I think it was last year was the last time I watched it. That's because I just met Jason Patrick and Keith Sutherland, so I had to watch it when I got home.
They're amazing. And I sometimes watch it just because Corey Feldman's in it and the Frog Brothers were hysterical.
It's definitely timeless.
I was just watching something the other day and I go, who is that singing? He goes, Corey Feldman, he's the best. See, now I can't stop. I get like this and then I can't stop myself. All right, Anthony, you're gonna have to take over.
You gotta cool it down. I love the soundtrack. That was a great movie.
See, Todd and Carmela got me like this.
Todd and Carmela. Yeah. I mean, well, maybe one day, Eric, we'll get together and we'll do investigation or hang out.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
We go to a restaurant and have some spirits with the spirits.
How far are you from us?
I'm in central Pennsylvania.
Okay, so you're not too far.
Yeah. I think it's like 2 hours to Scranton.
Okay.
Or a little over 2 hours, I think.
And we travel all the time. We go on lots of investigations.
Yeah, there's so many great spots.
Do they let you investigate these places? If we go in there with a group, we'll get some dinner and then we'll investigate it. Think they'll let us?
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
I'd definitely be down for that. Another great place. I totally recommend checking out, and it's probably not that far from both of you. It's called Vampa. It's a Vampire Paranormal Museum, and it's in Doylestown, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I gotta say, whenever I hear about a place like that, I don't really have high expectations for them. I gotta say, I was real pleasantly surprised. It was one of the most impressive such museums I think I've ever seen. Now, mind you, I've been to Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in Las Vegas, and this museum blows it out of the water. It's run by he's an experienced exorcist, and I mean, he's got an amazing collection of all kinds of stuff from all over the world. It's incredible. I definitely recommend checking that out.
Yeah, I heard about this place. I heard it's really good too. I know my friend.
Yeah, it's very good.
Two of my friends went there, and they were out in the parking lot, and he comes walking out, Zach, and he's talking to him, and he was nice. You know what I mean?
That is the thing you shall not say.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm talking about the vampire museum's awesome. Like Zach, like Zach's museum was okay.
I got a senior moment. I I do these things. I'm an old man. Senior moment.
I do it too. Yeah, no worries there, man. I know how that is.
Oh, so you talk about the vampire museum?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's the one I was. I mean, it's got to be not too far from you. Doylestown, I think, is about an hour from New York.
It's like an hour, maybe.
Yeah.
Or an hour and a half or something.
Yeah, it's not far at all. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. I think you'll be just as impressed. It's such an incredible collection there.
We gotta check it out. Yeah, I got.
Yeah, I think you'd really
people in the audience laughing at me. So Todd, Camilla, and Jenny, they're all laughing at me. Hey.
No, I think they're laughing because what I said. Yeah, we were talking about going to Vampa, and there was someplace else. Jenny helped me out. It's another place that's like a. I can't think of the name of the place, but it was kind of like an antique shop that was like haunted objects. I can't think of the name of the place. In the meantime, before somebody helps me, RL said, I think tuberculosis, before it was fully understood, explains much of the vampire phenomenon. Patients get weaker and weaker. There's another, what's it called? Porphyria. Porphyria is a rare disease, and your gums recede, so your teeth look like they're longer, and your eyes kind of turn pinkish, and the sun hurts you, and I don't ask me how I know these things. I just do. But that is also known as the vampire disease. So that's something else.
There's some, they say that that's possibly what created a lot of the vampire myths in New Orleans, because back in the 19th century, a lot of the rich like plantation owners and business people, they would have like wives shipped out from overseas or concubines. I don't know what, but yeah, they would keep them in these boxes and stuff, and yeah, a lot of them suffered from that, from porphyria, and they would when they got there, all their features would be distorted, and you have these vampire brides walking around. And there was actually I think a nunnery or something where they would take them to first and try to resuscitate them, or bring them back to some semblance of normality. But there was always this steady trickle of vampire looking women coming from the dock.
Yeah, I don't think there's
bloodsuckers. Hey.
Probably wasn't so
bride, hey.
rare back then.
Yeah, they didn't have UPS or FedEx back then. They had they just had cartons. They threw them in and said, "Hey, throw some stamps on them, send them overseas."
Allow 6 to 8 weeks shipping.
Yeah,
get the catalog out. Hey, I like her. Send her.
Can you imagine that though? Like, I mean, now a mail order bride, you can look online and check them out. I mean, that could be catfish too, but you look through like a magazine or like a newspaper back then, like a Penny Dreadful kind of thing, and she shows up and she's like,
no,
totally different.
70s and 80s, they did have those magazines.
I remember that. I remember seeing that.
Serious. I know. It was like magazines.
They were all over they were all over the Asian bakery windows. I remember my mother was like, "Oh, what's that?" And I'm like, "Let's just keep moving."
Yeah. Nothing to see here. Carry on.
Yeah. And my sister was like, "What's that?"
It's like the OC's catalog.
Yeah.
I like the way she looks. Yeah, send her.
And she plays tennis.
Yeah, so they sent her. Oh boy, the good old days. They
Yeah.
could buy and send them back.
Early 1800s.
If they come damaged, do you report them and send them back?
I don't know.
I wonder what kind of rating we're going to get tonight.
I know. We definitely kicked off of Facebook tonight.
They know what porphyria is, and they lose it.
Yeah.
See, it's very educational.
It was. I think this was a great show.
Mm-hmm.
I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
I think you're gonna be in Gettysburg, so that's gonna be awesome. We'll meet in Gettysburg. We have a couple cocktails. You smoke cigars. You have a cigar or two.
Hey, sounds great.
Keep rubbing it in.
What are you getting there? You getting there Thursday or Friday?
I'll probably be there for the whole thing.
Because Thursday night, a lot of people check in, and says from Friday morning we're setting up. So I'm gonna be there. So we're gonna do the show from there that night. So stop by. We'll talk.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, sounds great. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, you and Jenny will be doing the show.
I said we, Jesse, Jenny, but
Jesse, Jenny, you don't even know who you're doing the show with?
Jenny, I know Jenny. I can't forget Jenny. Yeah, she's going to be my co-host that night.
Yeah.
We're going to do the show from Gettysburg.
This is like the first time I'm missing Gettysburg. The very first time ever.
Well, where are you going? Complain. Where are you going?
West.
He's going to Key West.
I can't say I blame it.
I mean, Key West or Gettysburg. I mean, I'd rather be in Gettysburg, to tell you the truth, but yeah.
Hey, I'll be there next year.
Okay, it's always next
I've been there every year. This is my first year missing it, and everyone's going to be there this year.
Yeah, everybody.
Of course.
Is going to be there. A lot of people in the audience are going to be there this year. That's going to be awesome. So we have a nice little group there.
Shut up, Anna.
We have a nice group. Hey. This year they won't. Since you're not going to be there, there's going to be no tornadoes.
Yeah, I bring the sunshine with me.
Not last year.
Oh,
No, that wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Were you there last year?
Oh no. I'm pretty well. I was born and raised in Buffalo, New York, but I lived out west for the last 20 years, in Los Angeles and Las Vegas, and I just recently relocated to the East Coast a couple of years ago. So I'm still getting reacclimated to all the different events and things going on. But yeah, I love it out here.
There's so much to do.
Yeah, so we should have.
Oh, there really is.
We can definitely have a great time. Like I said, we can be there. We'll have a couple cocktails after the show. After the thing, we have a couple cocktails and cigars and just have a good time.
And gabagool.
Hey, it sounds great to me.
Yeah, if you want to bring some gabagool, it'll be no problem.
Forgot about it, huh?
Forget about
Hey, from one Italian to another.
Hey, you get some gabagool, cannolis. No, none of that other stuff. That T word.
Yeah, I'll do that. There's a pizzeria that just opened up right up the street, and they're from Italy, and they make the best cannolis. I'll pick up some. I'll bring some over. How about that?
I never refuse cannolis. I never.
All right, did you hear that? You don't have to bring the cannolis. Yes, RL.
Take the cannolis.
RL, they do have feral chickens. My husband, when we went to Blue Heaven, he actually got pecked by the chickens, like while we were eating breakfast.
Oh, no.
And they do have a bunch of polydactyl cats because of Hemingway's house. They're all over the place. So yeah, they're still there. They're all over the place. They're really cool. We love it there. I just put up your website. So everything else, like wherever else you're at, you can find, you have your little locations on that, right? For everything else that you have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody can go to www.sanguinemacabre.com. and you can find Eric there. And don't forget to buy him a coffee.
Hey, thank you very much.
We're going to advertise you to death. We're going to find a way.
Yeah.
Hey, I really appreciate it.
Get some coffee.
I'll put out the word myself.
Yeah. So don't forget, everybody, check Eric out on his website, all of his social medias, and share the show so that everybody can see you there too.
Yeah.
And watch your stories. You have some great stories.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really cool stories. I like them.
We can keep you here all night.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed talking to you all.
You're welcome back.
Do the same.
Absolutely.
Hey, thank you very much.
But after 2 hours of talking, I'm sure you're sick of us. So we can always have you back another time. And if
I'm
anything,
just relaxing at home.
if anything changes and you have like a book or you have a TV show or anything happens, please let us know and we'll update that on our stuff too.
Hey, thank you so much.
You're welcome. So that is another Dimensions of the Supernatural. Watch us Thursdays from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm Maureen Grudzinski. This is Anthony Simonelli, and that is Eric Galligan, otherwise known as Sanguine Macabre. We are finishing up for tonight, and we will see you next Thursday. Anthony?
Okay. Remember, stay safe out there. You want to look for ghosts. You won't be a ghost. So hold on.
Hey, how you doing?
Ready?
Okay. Good night, everyone.